An explosive political crisis has erupted in Westminster. In a stunning and dramatic turn of events, Keir Starmer's entire team has resigned live on television, shaking the foundations of the Labour Party. This mass walkout comes amid a shocking $22 billion scandal that threatens to bring the government to its knees. What exactly happened? Why did 43 MPs abandon their leader in one of the most devastating betrayals ever witnessed in British politics? Stay with us as we unpack the chaos unfolding right now. For months, whispers of turmoil have circulated quietly through the corridors of power. Labour insiders hinted at deepening fractures within Starmer's ranks, but no one expected the scale of what was about to unfold. It began as a routine televised interview where Starmer was expected to address mounting concerns over a massive financial scandal tied to government contracts and mishandled funds. The amount at stake, an eye-watering $22 billion, was already sparking fury among opposition parties and the public alike. However, what happened live on air was nothing short of unprecedented. One by one, members of Starmer's inner circle stood up and announced their resignations, citing irreconcilable differences, loss of trust, and a refusal to be associated with what many described as the darkest chapter in Labour's history. The sheer number, 43 MPs walking out together, sent shockwaves through Parliament and media outlets, instantly dominating headlines and social feeds across the UK. This mass resignation is not just a political setback, it signals a total collapse of leadership within the party. Behind closed doors, tensions had been simmering for weeks, fueled by allegations of corruption, cover-ups, and reckless financial decisions. Starmer's failure to respond effectively to the growing scandal alienated key figures who once stood firmly by his side. The $22 billion scandal centres on government contracts awarded to private companies with questionable ties, many of which allegedly received millions without proper oversight or accountability. Whistleblowers within the party have accused Starmer's team of deliberate obstruction and silence, claiming that internal warnings were ignored until the crisis exploded publicly. Now, with the public's trust eroding fast, the Labour Party faces an existential crisis unlike any before. The timing could not be worse. The UK is already grappling with economic uncertainty, inflation, and post-Brexit challenges. This scandal threatens to derail any hopes Labour had of mounting a credible challenge against the ruling Conservatives. As the news spreads, experts warn that the fallout will reshape the political landscape, possibly triggering a snap election and forcing the party to rebuild from the ground up. The world is watching closely as the drama unfolds, and the question on everyone's lips is, can Keir Starmer survive this monumental blow, or is this the beginning of the end for his leadership? The $22 billion scandal that has engulfed Keir Starmer's Labour Party is a complex and far-reaching crisis that strikes at the heart of government accountability and public trust. At its core, this scandal revolves around the misuse and mismanagement of billions of pounds in government funds, primarily tied to emergency contracts awarded during the recent years of economic uncertainty. These contracts, intended to support essential public services and the UK economy during challenging times, were handed out to private companies under what critics now call a shadowy and poorly monitored system. What makes this scandal especially explosive is not only the enormous amount of money involved, but the alleged lack of oversight, transparency, and the possibility of corrupt practices that allowed contracts to be awarded without proper due diligence. Investigations have revealed that several companies, many with questionable backgrounds and ties to political insiders, received millions in taxpayer money without delivering the promised services or goods. Internal documents leaked to the press show that some contracts were awarded to firms with little experience or capacity to fulfill their obligations, raising serious questions about favouritism and nepotism. More damning are reports from whistleblowers within the Labour Party and government agencies who claim that warnings about irregularities were repeatedly ignored or actively suppressed by senior members of Starmer's team. These revelations paint a disturbing picture of systemic failure and possible deliberate concealment of wrongdoing at the highest levels of party leadership. The scandal broke wide open when investigative journalists uncovered evidence of a series of hastily arranged contracts during a period of national emergency, valued collectively at $22 billion. The contracts were meant to ensure critical supplies and services, such as medical equipment, infrastructure support, and emergency relief efforts. However, as more details emerged, it became clear that many contracts were either overpriced, improperly awarded, or went to companies that failed to deliver. Parliamentary committees launched inquiries, and opposition MPs demanded full transparency and accountability. Yet, throughout the escalating crisis, Keir Starmer and his team appeared unable or unwilling to provide satisfactory explanations, which only fueled growing anger and suspicion within his party ranks and among the public. The impact of this scandal extends beyond the financial losses. It has deeply undermined public confidence in Labour's ability to govern ethically and effectively. The opposition, led by the Conservative Party and other smaller political groups, have seized on the scandal as evidence of Labour's unfitness to lead. Political commentators describe the fallout as one of the most damaging blows to a major party in modern British political history. Starmer's critics argue that the scandal reflects not just incompetence, but a culture of secrecy and unaccountability that has been allowed to fester under his leadership. This narrative gained traction quickly, as more MPs, previously loyal to Starmer, began to question the integrity of the leadership and their commitment to transparency. The resignation of 43 MPs live on television, which stunned the nation, is widely seen as a direct consequence of this deep mistrust and dissatisfaction. These MPs cited ethical concerns and the need to distance themselves from a leadership they believe is complicit in the scandal. Many expressed frustration at being kept in the dark and excluded from decision-making processes related to the crisis. The mass walkout sent an unmistakable signal that the party is fractured and that internal mechanisms for accountability have broken down. Behind closed doors, the atmosphere is reportedly tense and chaotic, with aides scrambling to contain the damage and prevent further defections. This scandal has also sparked wider debates about government procurement practices and the need for reform to prevent future abuses of power. Legal experts warn that the scale of the financial mismanagement may lead to criminal investigations, with potential charges against individuals involved in the awarding and execution of these contracts. There are growing calls for an independent inquiry with full investigative powers to uncover the truth and recommend systemic changes. The Labour Party faces intense pressure to cooperate fully with all investigations and to demonstrate a clear break from the practices that allowed this scandal to occur. Internationally, the scandal has damaged the UK's reputation as a stable and transparent democracy, raising concerns among allies and foreign investors about the country's political and economic stability. Financial markets reacted negatively as fears mounted over the potential political upheaval and uncertainty about the government's capacity to manage public funds responsibly. The scandal threatens to overshadow important national issues, from economic recovery to social welfare reforms, at a time when the country can least afford distractions. For Keir Starmer, the $22 billion scandal is a defining moment that tests his leadership like never before. His ability to respond decisively and restore trust is critical, but the massive public and political backlash suggests that the road ahead will be difficult and fraught with challenges. The resignations are a clear indication that many within his own party have lost faith in his leadership, and unless he can deliver transparency and concrete solutions quickly, the Labour Party risks further implosion. Political analysts predict that the fallout from this scandal will continue to dominate headlines, reshape party dynamics, and potentially trigger a broader realignment in UK politics. The unprecedented resignation of 43 Labour MPs live on television marked a seismic political event that sent shockwaves throughout Westminster and the UK political landscape. This mass exodus is more than a mere rebellion. It signals a fundamental crisis within the Labour Party, threatening to unravel years of political strategy and casting a long shadow over Keir Starmer's leadership. The immediate fallout has been catastrophic. Not only has the party been stripped of key parliamentary voices and experienced lawmakers, but the public perception of Labour has taken a serious hit as the party appears deeply divided and incapable of managing internal dissent. This level of defection, rare in British politics, exposes a party teetering on the edge of collapse, struggling to maintain cohesion amidst mounting scandals and growing distrust. Starmer's leadership, once viewed as a beacon of renewal following years of Labour turmoil, now faces intense scrutiny from all directions. The resignations have revealed fissures that many political commentators had warned about, but few anticipated would be so publicly explosive. Members have voiced frustrations. Within Labour, there is a growing sense of urgency and alarm. Party insiders describe the atmosphere as one of confusion and fear, with leadership aides scrambling to contain the political damage and prevent further defections. Meetings behind. Closed doors have become frequent and fraught, as factions within the party jostle for influence and attempt to steer the crisis response. Some MPs are calling for a complete overhaul of the leadership structure, demanding greater accountability and transparency to restore confidence. Others argue for a strategic pivot, suggesting that Labour must refocus its policy platform to win back the trust of disillusioned voters. Yet, with so many senior figures now publicly distancing themselves from Starmer, it remains unclear who can lead this recovery effort or whether the party is capable of rallying in time. The opposition, parties have seized upon the turmoil with ruthless efficiency. The Conservative Party, in particular, has wasted no time in framing Labour as a party in disarray, unfit to govern, and riddled with corruption. Conservative spokespeople have repeatedly hammered Starmer on his role in the $22 billion scandal, questioning his competence and moral authority. Other smaller parties, including Reform UK and the Liberal Democrats, are capitalising on Labour's weakness to court disillusioned voters and former Labour supporters. This realignment of political loyalties threatens to reshape the British political map in ways that could influence policy debates, parliamentary majorities, and coalition possibilities for years to come. Beyond immediate political calculations, the scandal and mass resignations have sparked broader conversations about the health of democracy and party politics in the UK. Many citizens, disillusioned by the spectacle, are voicing concerns about political accountability and the influence of money and patronage in public office. The erosion of trust in political institutions has been accelerated by this crisis, as people question whether any party can be trusted to manage the nation's affairs responsibly. This widespread scepticism presents a formidable challenge not just for Labour, but for the entire political system, emphasising the urgent need for reforms to restore integrity and transparency. For Keir Starmer personally, the crisis represents an existential threat. His political future hangs in the balance as the pressure mounts from within his party and the electorate. Starmer faces calls from some quarters to resign or be replaced by a leader better able to unify the party and restore its credibility. Yet, he has so far resisted these calls, attempting instead to present a stance of strength and resolve, promising to cooperate fully with ongoing investigations and to root out any wrongdoing within his ranks. His public appearances have been marked by a tone of measured apology, combined with a call for unity. But critics argue that these gestures are too little, too late, and lack the decisive action required to turn the tide. As the crisis deepens, Labour's policy agenda and campaign plans have been thrown into disarray. Key legislative priorities are now overshadowed by internal turmoil, reducing the party's ability to effectively challenge the government or present a compelling alternative to voters. The political capital needed for ambitious reforms is depleted, and media coverage remains focused on the scandal and resignations, further damaging Labour's standing. Analysts warn that unless Starmer and his team can swiftly implement structural reforms, improve transparency, and rebuild trust, the party risks a long period of decline and irrelevance. The upcoming months will be critical in determining whether Labour can recover from this catastrophic episode or whether the party will continue to unravel, paving the way for rivals to dominate British politics. The Labour Party's ability to learn from this scandal, address internal weaknesses, and reconnect with its base will be essential if it hopes to regain momentum. Starmer's leadership will be judged not only by how he handles the current crisis, but by his capacity to rebuild a party that can credibly challenge for power in the next general election. This political earthquake has forever changed the landscape, and the coming weeks and months will reveal the true cost of the $22 billion scandal and the live resignations on Labour's future. The staggering $22 billion scandal that has engulfed Keir Starmer's Labour Party is one of the largest financial controversies in recent British political history. This scandal, which has rocked the foundations of the party, revolves around the misappropriation and mishandling of public funds intended for critical infrastructure, social welfare, and community development projects. Investigations have uncovered a complex web of corruption, negligence, and cover-ups that implicate senior officials and trusted aides close to Starmer, further intensifying the crisis and fueling the wave of resignations. This section aims to dissect the scandal in detail, revealing how such a colossal financial disaster unfolded and what it means for the future of the party and the nation. At the heart of the scandal is the discovery that billions of pounds earmarked for key projects never reached their intended recipients. Instead, funds were diverted through a labyrinth of shell companies, fraudulent contracts, and inflated invoices, effectively siphoning public money into private accounts. Whistleblowers within the party and government agencies first raised alarm bells, but early warnings were allegedly ignored or suppressed by party insiders keen to avoid public scrutiny. The systemic failure to monitor and control these funds highlights serious lapses in governance and oversight within Labour's financial management structures. As more evidence has come to light, the scandal has exposed an alarming culture of complacency, secrecy, and complicity at multiple levels. Detailed audits and parliamentary inquiries reveal that the mismanagement was not accidental, but part of a coordinated effort by a network of corrupt actors exploiting their positions for personal gain. Contracts awarded without competitive bidding processes, inflated project costs, and ghost workers on payrolls are just a few of the malpractices identified. Some contracts were linked to politically connected firms, raising troubling questions about favouritism and cronyism. These revelations have severely damaged Labour's credibility on issues of economic stewardship and transparency, which were once core pillars of its political identity. The scandal's scale dwarfs previous controversies and has become a defining moment, forcing a reckoning within the party and across British politics. The impact of the scandal extends far beyond the financial losses. Communities that depended on the promised funds for essential services such as housing, healthcare, education and transportation have suffered severe setbacks. Projects critical to regional development and social equity remain incomplete or abandoned, exacerbating inequality and public frustration. This has led to growing public outrage and a loss of faith in political leaders who failed to safeguard taxpayers' money. Protests and calls for accountability have erupted nationwide, with citizens demanding immediate action and justice for those responsible. The scandal has thus transformed from a political embarrassment into a social crisis, with real-world consequences for millions of Britons. Starmer's response to the scandal has been closely scrutinised and widely criticised. Initially, the Labour leader sought to distance himself from the financial misconduct, claiming ignorance of the details and blaming lower-level officials. However, as evidence mounted and the scope of the scandal became undeniable, Starmer was forced to acknowledge the party's responsibility and pledge cooperation with investigations. His attempts to restore confidence through promises of reform and tighter controls have been met with scepticism by both critics and some party members, who view these measures as reactive and insufficient. The leadership's failure to detect and prevent such widespread corruption raises fundamental questions about accountability and oversight at the highest levels. Legal ramifications are unfolding rapidly. Several senior party figures are under criminal investigation, with charges ranging from fraud to conspiracy to launder money. The involvement of external auditors, anti-corruption agencies, and law enforcement reflects the seriousness of the allegations and the determination to hold perpetrators accountable. Parliamentary committees have launched formal inquiries, demanding full disclosure and transparency. The pressure on Starmer to support these investigations and enforce internal discipline is immense, as the party's future credibility hinges on a thorough and impartial resolution of the scandal. Failure to act decisively risks further alienation of the public and worsening political damage. The scandal has also reignited debates about political funding and reform in the UK. Critics argue that systemic weaknesses in campaign financing, donations, and expenditure oversight created fertile ground for abuse. Calls for stronger regulation, enhanced transparency requirements, and independent watchdogs have intensified in the wake of the revelations. Labour's predicament serves as a cautionary tale for all political parties, highlighting the urgent need for comprehensive reforms to prevent similar abuses and restore public trust. This broader conversation about political accountability and ethical governance is likely to shape legislative agendas and party policies for years to come. International observers have taken note of the crisis, with media coverage spanning global outlets. The scandal has tarnished the UK's political reputation abroad, raising concerns among allies and investors about governance stability and integrity. This reputational damage could have economic consequences, potentially affecting foreign investment and diplomatic relations. For Labour, the international spotlight adds another layer of pressure to resolve the scandal swiftly and demonstrate a commitment to clean governance. Starmer's ability to manage this external fallout will be critical in determining both his leadership survival and the party's capacity to regain influence on the world stage. In conclusion, the $22 billion scandal represents a profound challenge for Keir Starmer and the Labour Party. It exposes deep-rooted problems in financial management, governance and ethical standards that must be addressed comprehensively. The scandal's far-reaching effects, from political instability and legal battles to social impact and international reputation, underscore the urgent need for accountability, reform, and renewed leadership. As the investigations continue and the political fallout unfolds, the future of the Labour Party hangs in the balance, with the possibility of transformation or further decline. This dark chapter in British politics serves as a stark reminder of the consequences when power is misused and trust is betrayed. As this unprecedented scandal continues to unfold, it is crucial for every concerned citizen to stay informed and hold those in power accountable. The future of British politics depends on transparency, integrity, and a demand for justice. If you want to see real change and ensure that such corruption is never allowed to happen again, make your voice heard. Share this video with your friends and family, join the conversation in the comments below, and follow our channel for the latest updates on this explosive story. Your engagement matters. Together, we can shine a light on the truth and push for the reforms Britain desperately needs. Don't stay silent, the time to act is now.